watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
And welcome back to Fox 35 News Plus on this Tuesday afternoon. It is our big story of the day, and that is the tour by President Donald Trump at Alligator Alcatraz, the detention facility, the immigration detention facility down in South Florida. So reaction has been pouring in here so far on both sides, supporters and those who do not agree with this move. And so we will bring in now for an interview Congressman Maxwell Frost, Democrat from Orlando. Congressman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I mean, we're fighting this horrible, big, nasty bill up in D.C. And also, just seeing those images you just put on screen of what looks like an internment camp where humans are going to be caged, most of whom who've not been found guilty of a crime or even charged with a crime, just people who've been living in this country alongside all of us, especially in the state of Florida. It's pretty depressing stuff.
So when you were watching live this morning or watching a replay, whichever it was, what was your initial reaction? Those are strong words, internment camp, that you used in your first answer.
Well, I don't know how else you would describe it when you look at those videos of what is a tent in the middle of the Everglades in the Florida hot blazing sun, cages where people will be put. And these are people who have not been found guilty of a crime. Maybe some of them have, but most of them haven't been, as we know, the statistics show. There'll be mothers, children, fathers, grandmas, most of whom who've lived in this country over a decade, have followed our laws, have paid more into the tax system than they've taken out, and are now being rounded up, kidnapped from our communities, and thrown into these cages you're seeing. I mean, just look at those images. And people should know who's setting this up. The state is doing it, but the Florida Office of Emergency Management is the one that operated and set this up. These are the people who are in charge when we have a hurricane come. They're using their money and expenses to do this instead of making sure we're safe, while at the same time Donald Trump fired a ton of scientists, meteorologists, and important folks at the National Weather Service, Hurricane Center, and NOAA. And we're looking like we're going to have a tough hurricane season. Hopefully they're wrong about that. And so people have to see that they're using our taxpayer money for politics. I've been traveling the country and then traveling the state, and I've heard from people who voted for Donald Trump who said, look, yes, I wanted a secure border. Yes, I want to make sure our laws are followed, but I didn't think they'd be pulling up to Home Depots, elementary schools, churches, rounding people up who I've lived with, for most of my life, and throwing them in these cages and then just sending them to random countries. And that's what's going on right now.
So, Congressman, you brought up the point of money, and the argument from the governor and federal officials is that this move is cost effective. From what I've read, they estimate that it'll be $450 million per year, $245 per bed per day, and they say that they can get reimbursed from the federal government.
Yeah, keyword can. Will they? Who knows? We'll have to see exactly what happens. But I want to be clear. That number that they give you, over $400 million being set on a tent internment camp for immigrants in the middle of the Everglades, it's going to be a lot more than that. The first tropical storm, the first major rainstorm in that swamp will probably drastically decimate a lot of those tents, put the lives of the immigrants and the staff at risk. It's going to cost a lot more than what they're saying it is. The numbers they're giving you the numbers of what it'll cost if nothing bad happens weather-wise. But we all know in the state of Florida that we have increasingly terrible weather in the state, weather tragedies, hurricanes included, and that's the Everglades. It's the swampiest part of our entire state, and so it's going to be a higher price tag than that.
Do you plan on going for a visit here at this newest facility?
My goal is to visit the facility. I planned on sending a letter to the governor of the state this week to get a tour to check it out. But I'm up here in D.C. voting against this evil bill for billionaires. And so hopefully in the coming weeks, I'll be able to go and see it in person.
We'll get to that spending bill in just another question here. But first, before we move on from the ICE and immigration detention centers, I know it's been a concern of yours, the humanitarian aspect of what's happening inside. And since 2025, 5 out of the 10 people here that are in ICE custody or that have died in ICE custody, 5 of the 10 here in Florida. What kind of concern do you have for this latest facility in Alligator Alcatraz?
All of these ICE detention centers in the state of Florida have abhorrent conditions. And I'm not just saying this because I read it somewhere. I went to one. I went to Baker. It's a facility that doesn't get a ton of news, but it's in Stark, Florida. I went there about a year and a half ago, unannounced, just showed up. They let me in. Why'd they let me in? Because it's in the law. Members of Congress have to be let in to ICE detention facilities to conduct oversight. And as a member of the oversight committee, it's part of my job. So they let me into this facility. I spent about 2 hours in it. And I'll tell you, this is a facility that's actually a building with AC and everything, and the conditions were horrible. I was talking with immigrants in there who said, I haven't been convicted of a crime. I've been here for almost a year. I rather now fend for my life on the streets of Haiti or whatever country they had come from a long time ago instead of being in these horrible conditions. So I can tell you that if the conditions are horrible in a building, imagine what it'll be in a tent city in the middle of the Everglades. That's why so many people have died in these Florida detainment facilities. And everyone should be very concerned about it. These are our neighbors. These are people who live here. Most of them have not been charged, convicted, or accused of a crime. And that's why I'm speaking out against it. Look, I'm Cuban. My mom came here from Cuba in the late 1960s during the freedom flights. My mom came here as a refugee. My mom came here because this country, part of what makes America exceptional is that we allow people to come to our borders to claim asylum, to work to claim asylum, and we will hear them out. And this administration has completely canceled the legal right to claim asylum at the border. And not just that, but Donald Trump, the interesting thing is this, Donald Trump ran on deporting undocumented people to have less undocumented people in the country. But you want to know the interesting thing is Donald Trump is actually creating more undocumented people. How? Well, he's actually ripping away legal status from people who did it the right way. They're really showing their hand because they ran on saying, well, if you come the right way, it's all good. But they're ripping away TPS, temporary protective status, for hundreds of thousands of Haitians, people from Venezuela here in Florida. They're ripping away the parole program, which impacts people from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti as well. So we have hundreds of thousands of Floridians with legal status, people who did it the right way, having it ripped away from them. They get a letter. It happened to some of my family members. They get a letter that says your status is no longer valid in the United States of America. Self-deport immediately. I mean, so they're literally making more undocumented people, people who did it the right way. This is more than just about legalese or doing it through the system. And I hate to say it, but people like Charlie Kirk, people like Stephen Miller in the White House, they say what they want very blatantly. They don't want this many Latinos, Haitians, and Black people in the country. And all you got to do is look at their social media feed over the last few weeks to see that. So unfortunately, a huge part of this whole immigration mass deportation campaign is actually a really racist campaign to try to rid the country of the diversity that we have.
And turning now to the big, beautiful bill, the spending bill, that's the name that the president has given it, the nickname at least. It passed in the Senate today, 51-50. The vice president passed the tie-breaking votes. That tells you, in a chamber where Republicans have the majority, that it was contentious, and it's likely to be contentious even if as it returns to the House, perhaps for a vote tomorrow. So it'll be a busy day for you. Your thoughts on the advancement of that bill?
This is a horrible and very unpopular piece of legislation, and I want to make sure people know what it is. He's calling it the big, beautiful bill. It is big, but it's not beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful if you're a billionaire or you own a mega corporation. But if you're a working person in this country, if you're a poor person in this country, if you're a small business owner in this country, it isn't anything but beautiful for you. Let's talk about the facts. Number one, it's going to eliminate healthcare for 17 million Americans by making drastic cuts to Medicaid. If you know somewhat who currently has health care because of Medicaid, they could be drastically impacted by this. It's also drastically impacting the Affordable Care Act, which will add an additional few million people who will lose their health care as well. It's going to rip away nutritional assistance from millions of Americans. We're talking about SNAP and WIC, the nation's premier anti-hunger program to help ensure that if people are having trouble, make ends meet, that we help them to feed themselves and their families. They're going to rip that away from millions of Americans. There's also another provision they're taking out that's going to rip away the grant program that allows school districts to get free lunch to all students in the school district. We know that when students have a full belly, they're going to perform better in school. And actually, if you have a child in Orange County Public Schools, guess what? Just about a year and a half ago, Orange County Public Schools made the announcement that every single kid in the public school system would receive free breakfast and lunch when they're at school, an amazing program. This bill will rip away the grant program that made that possible. Not only that, this bill is also going to raise energy costs and utility costs by hundreds of dollars for Americans across the entire country. So it's going to raise costs. It's going to take away programs from working people. And you might be asking yourself, why are they doing this? Is it just to save money? No. It's not to just save money. It's to give billionaires and mega corporations the largest tax break and tax giveaway that we've ever seen in this country. It's actually the largest transfer of wealth from the poor and the working class to the wealthy in the modern history of our nation. It's going to add $4 to $5 billion to our nation's deficit. So if you care about the deficit, this is horrible for the deficit. And on top of that, I want to make sure I dispel with some misinformation, if you'll indulge me for a minute, because as I've spoken with some people about the bill, sometimes they'll say, well, I heard that they're going to handle the taxation on Social Security. That is a lie. It's not in this bill at all. It's not even in the bill. So if you ever hear that this deals with taxation on Social Security, complete lie, not in the bill. You can look it up. The second thing people bring up to me is, well, it has no tax on tips. Well, if you look at the way it's written out, there's a million exemptions in it for the no tax on tips. And actually, the no tax on tips they're putting in is mainly going to help big restaurants, not the tipped workers. And if you've ever been a tipped worker where you get tipped out, which means there's a pool and then the restaurant gives you the tip, most of these tips in on credit cards, you're actually not going to see the kind of savings that you think you're going to see. Most tip workers are actually not really going to benefit from this at all. They put these things in here and really blatantly lied about some of these things because they know that when people see the facts of the bill, they're going to hate it and it's going to be very unpopular. This is going to make the wealth inequality in this country worse, putting more resources and money in the pockets of the billionaires and mega corporations and less for working families. It's a horrible bill. I actually had a bunch of events planned in Orlando this week. I canceled all of them. I took a flight here very early this morning. Right after this, I'm going to go debate this bill. I'm going to do everything I can to stop it, to delay it, to make sure people know how horrible it is for this nation. And I'm going to take it till the end. We're going to fight this thing.
Thank you, Congressman Maxwell Frost, Democrat here from Orlando. It is certainly a busy night tonight and a busy day tomorrow for everyone on Capitol Hill. We thank you for taking the time with us out of your schedule here to join us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We will be back with much more Fox 35 News Plus right after this short break. We will be back in a flash.